Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? It is week one, NFL, Saints, Falcons, getting things started off right. Whodats and the Dirty Birds. Let's go over to Atlanta. Mark Zinno joins us, 92.9 The Game there in Atlanta, the Falcons flagship. Also, Locked On Atlanta. He's on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Hey, man, we appreciate the time as always. How are you?
I am well. Great to talk to you as always. Fortunately for you, I'm on the receiving end of a really bad football team, so I'm ready. I'm ready to break it all down.
All right, Saints fans are feeling confident, as you might expect. Let's start under center. What realistically is an expectation for Marcus Mariota?
Realistically, for him not to make enough mistakes to lose this team games. That's realistic. Like, he's not going to put anyone on his back and carry them. He's not going to be the 2016 version of Marcus Mariota that was running for touchdowns and throwing for touchdowns, and he was a fantasy football manager's best friend, and you thought he was going to be on this meteoric rise. That's not happening again. Because if it was going to happen, it would have happened sometime between now and the last 6 years, and he would be a starter somewhere. So that's not a realistic expectation. That's a false expectation. The only thing realistic you can hope for is that he doesn't make mistakes that hurt the team. He might not be able to win you games, but certainly don't lose them.
Who is he going to throw to, Mark?
Well, he has options, right? And in Arthur Smith's system, he's going to have a lot of options. One, obviously Kyle Pitts should be the guy who is the number one target and have at least 130 to 140 targets this year, along with catching 110 to 120 balls. Like, if that doesn't happen, Arthur Smith is derelict as a head coach. Kyle Pitts is the biggest mismatch on any football field in the NFL right now. Just given his size, his speed, what he's able to accomplish, linebackers can't keep up with him. Defensive backs can't jump over him. So he should be exploited as a mismatch. There may be a handful of guys that you can count on one hand who can cover him. And that's about it. So he's going to be the primary guy. Drake London was brought in, drafted, and, Arthur Smith is being very coy and cautious about his status with his knee that he hurt in preseason as far as whether he's going to play. He was listed as number one on the depth chart, but finisher. Use Cordero Patterson may be interesting to watch as well. I think he'll be more out of the slot and motioning out of the backfield this year than necessarily the running back that they needed him to be last year out of pure necessity. So from that standpoint, I think they have options. It's a question of, can the line protect, and can Marcus Mariota, whose accuracy is waning, can he find them when they're open?
So let's answer one of those. Can the line protect against the Saints?
The short answer is, how about no? We don't know. We honestly, we don't. Like, Drew Dahlman got the starting job over Matt Hennessy. And what does that mean? I don't know, because all these guys are pretty negligible. Like, the idea that you're having a center battle kind of means both of them stink, right? Like, it's just like one of those positions it's not really a battle for. The offensive line, could it be better? Maybe. But there's a difference between them being good enough to be a solid running team, which is what they desperately need for Marcus Mariota, and they've lacked for the last 5 years. And can they protect long enough for in a sort of West Coast style, the old run and shoot offense, if that's what Arthur Smith wants to employ to get rid of the ball quickly? Can they protect long enough for him to find somebody in that manner? Maybe, yeah. But it's going to be interesting because Kyle Pitts last year, and this is an interesting stat, guys. Kyle Pitts, of all receivers who caught at least 50 balls, was fifth in the NFL in yards per catch behind guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. What does that mean? It means that he wasn't running 35 yards downfield and catching the ball in the air. It means he was running 3 and 5 yard outs and then taking it upfield, and nobody could bring him down. And I think that's the strategy they'll employ again.
Let's flip the field, Mark. The Saints, there's people here who are very optimistic about the Saints offense because of getting Michael Thomas back, the weapons they've added, Jarvis Landry being healthy again. Before we go specific about Atlanta's defense, if I just said, what do you think about this Saints offense? What's your opinion?
very simply, I don't trust any offense that's not run by Sean Payton in New Orleans. I mean, I think that's fair.
Okay.
I know this may be blasphemy to your listeners, but like, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, Sean Payton made Drew Brees. If Drew Brees was never in New Orleans, he's an average quarterback his entire career. I'm sorry, I just think he is. I think that's how good Sean Payton is of a play caller and a schemer, and the ability he has to exploit the other team's defensive weaknesses is so superior to almost every other coach in this league. It's not even funny. I mean, to me, he is that good. So I don't trust any offense that Sean Payton isn't calling the plays from. What can Dennis Allen do? I don't know. I wouldn't even begin to suppose to know. But what I do know is that the one thing that Sean Payton was able to do and would have been able to do with a healthy Jameis Winston is eliminate his opportunities for mistakes. He would have schemed things so wide open that Jameis wouldn't have had the ability to make mistakes. They would have been incomplete. And so from that standpoint, I think if you can limit Jameis's turnovers, and maybe Jameis has, who knows, maybe he's learned how to not throw picks in the last couple of years. I don't know that because we haven't seen a full season of him due to injury, but that's going to be obviously the biggest concern. And is there a running game left in New Orleans? I know Kamara's there, but is he a guy that you're going to give the ball to 18, 20, 22 times a game? I still say no.
Yeah, he hasn't been that at any point in his career. They've really utilized a two-back system. So I think the bigger question is, how much gas does Mark Ingram have left in the tank? What about the Atlanta defense, Mark? And I asked that question very open-ended because I was curious what direction you took it. And it was interesting that you went the Sean Payton route because I do think that's something we all collectively have not really talked enough about here is just how big of a loss that is. But specifically to the Falcons, where are they good defensively?
At corner. I mean, that's it. Like, A.J. Terrell is a top 5 corner in this league. The metrics say that. The Pro Football Focus nerds say that. And just watch him play. You'll see very quickly. So this is the interesting part. And I don't know what Dean Pease is going to do, if he's going to move A.J. Terrell around and he's going to follow either Chris Olave or Michael Thomas around all over wherever they go in the field, or between him and Casey Hayward on the other side. Are they going to just stick with whoever is there? Casey Hayward's not great, but he's serviceable. And when you have A.J. Terrell on the other side, then you got a shot. Now, where they could beat the Saints is at safety, which is a real question mark. Richie Grant was the guy that Terry Fontenot, the GM, you guys know him well, obviously, drafted in the 2nd round last year. Everybody in Atlanta is using Richie Grant as the litmus test of, can you find guys outside of the 1st round that can play? And we're going to find out in the school of hard knocks right now in week 1, because you got some burners there, man. I mean, Olave can stretch the field like nobody's business. And Michael Thomas, he's still, to me, if he's healthy, is a 5-yard slant and a cloud of dust, man. So there's going to be some work done on those safeties. I'll say it plainly. The Falcons aren't going to get a pass rush, so I'm not even going to try to assume that they will be until I see otherwise. Mm-hmm. Until I see otherwise, it's like playing the lotto. Until somebody tells me I actually have a ticket that wins, I don't believe it. So why even buy the ticket? I'm not buying a ticket to say the Falcons can get to the quarterback. Okay. They can't. Grady Jarrett is the only guy on that front 7 that would ever keep a defensive coordinator up at night. Arnold Ebiketie, the guy that drafted at Penn State in the 2nd round as well, I think he'll be used situationally as a pass rusher. Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator, seems to think that he's finally got the guys that he wants. That's like saying I found all the oldest CDs at the bottom of the barrel that I really, really love because no one's listening to freaking CDs anymore. That's great. You finally found the guys you want, but nobody else wanted them. So what does that tell you? So I don't know who these guys are, if they can be any good, but Dean Pease seems to think that they can be. So we'll wait and see. But I mean, look, this defense is going to have to be opportunistic. They're going to have to create turnovers because it's the only thing that's going to be able to keep them in games. And when you have a guy like A.J. Terrell that can shut down half the field, you have a little bit of flexibility to try some things that you wouldn't normally necessarily do without a player like that. But, this is a team, Matt, that does not play well from behind, and they won't play well from behind this year because they don't have the talent and they can't close in that manner. So if the Saints get up early, 14-0, 14-3, how quick will Arthur Smith hit the panic button on offense and just start to drop back the pass, which is a recipe for disaster with Marcus Mariota? Only he knows. But I think the Falcons have to keep it close, and they've got to be able to try to grind the tempo down a little bit.
Beginning of life beginning of life without Matt Ryan, it is going to be a weird sight to watch a Saints-Falcons game. No Drew Brees, no Sean Payton, no Matt Ryan. It's things that we've just become used to for the last dozen years, and now it's just not.
And let me give you one more, Matt, real quick. Famous Saints killer Deion Jones is not playing in this game, obviously. And oh, by the way, how the Falcons have botched that whole situation to me is beyond laughable. It's head-scratching. I mean, nobody in the organization talks like they want him there. Nobody talks like he's part of the full-time plans. He's not even going to play to try and increase what limited value or zero value that he has into something. I have no idea what they're hanging on to this guy for. I don't know why they're doubling down on a bad investment with his contract and keeping him around. But, hey, he always played great against the Saints. He had fantastic games against them his entire career, but he won't be there on Sunday. So that might be a little bit of an edge for you guys.
A New Orleans kid who went to LSU. Everyone here knows and loves him well. They want him to do well, just not against the Saints. But you're right. He had some amazing plays. I mean, the leaping, was it Thursday Night Football game, the leaping interception in the end zone to finish? I mean, he was perennially tough to deal with. Hey, if there is a blueprint, last thing, if there is a blueprint for the Falcons to win this game, what is it?
Other than pray?
It's a 5-point line, man. It's the end of given Sunday, right?
Now, listen, look, full disclosure, I'm taking the Falcons and the points with the number.
Okay.
Week 1 divisional games are always close. They always are. Generally, they are. If the Falcons want to win this thing, they have to get a lead early, and they have to play from out in front because Arthur Smith can be a lot more open with his play calling. But I think they're going to have to create turnovers, as I said a moment ago. Like, force Jameis into spots, and they know him well. They played him in Tampa Bay. I mean, look, there are plenty of people around that building who still understand how to rattle Jameis a little bit. But I would tell you that I think that they have to have some measure of success in the running game. How creative they're going to be. Maybe they do it with short passes as well. I think this is a Saints team that defensively is still going to be very good. I just don't know if their offense is going to be able to execute at the level that they used to. I mean, the fact that this team was almost in the playoffs last year with Trevor Siemian and a whole bunch of garbage quarterbacks running around speaks to, in my opinion, how great Sean Payton is. With him gone, I think the offense struggles a little bit. If they open the door for the Falcons, there's a chance that they could walk through it. The biggest thing is the Falcons are not a team that can make mistakes. Go back to their preseason game real quick against, I think it was their second preseason game against the Jets. It was the first play of the game where Kyle Pitts was streaking down the left sideline. Mariota badly underthrows him. I mean, horribly underthrows him, almost to the point where it could have been picked. It was a 52-yard game, and what resulted in a 3-point field goal from Younghoe Koo. That is a mistake you cannot make against a team like the Saints. That's got to be 6. You can't miss that throw. You can't settle for field goals because you're going to get burned. This team was 7-2 last year in one-score games. They're not good enough to avoid regression in that department. So they're going to be on the wrong end of a lot of one-score games this year because things like that happen. They need to be flawless in almost every aspect of the game if they're going to win. If they make mistakes, other teams will capitalize. I expect the Saints will as well.
He's on Twitter at Mark Zinno, 92.9 The Game. It's the Falcons flagship. Of course, Locked On Sports Atlanta as well. I should mention Mark does a lot of gambling content for VSiN and PicksWise. You can follow them all on Twitter, so go follow Mark on Twitter for a lot of that great content. Mark, we appreciate you, man. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the season. We'll talk soon.
Matty, you're the best. Can't wait to do it again.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.